Hi, I'm Nadia Vitek. I am a barista at the College Ave location in Ithaca, New York, and I use they, them pronouns. I've been with Starbucks for a little over 9 months now.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Working People, a podcast about the lives, jobs, dreams, and struggles of the working class today. Brought to you in partnership with In These Times magazine and the Real News Network, produced by Jules Taylor, and made possible by the support of listeners like you. So I wanted to let y'all know up top that we do have more full-length episodes coming for y'all on the Working People feed. We've been recording like crazy, especially because I'm going to be gone next week at the Labor Notes Conference, and so we're trying to kind of get ahead of the 8 ball there. So we've got a lot of great, full-length episodes coming your way, but we actually pushed back, the episode we had planned for this week so that we could talk, about the bullshit that is going on at Starbucks, particularly at the College Avenue location in Ithaca. And as y'all heard, we are so grateful to have Nadia on right now, who has been working at that location, involved in the unionization effort. And we wanted to make sure that folks listening knew what was going on there and knew what they could do to show support for Nadia and their fellow partners. And I wanted to just, to quickly sum up for folks who maybe haven't heard the news, I wanted to just read this little summary from a CNN article by Ramisha Maroof that was published this week, which begins thusly. Quote, Starbucks workers at an Ithaca, New York store claim their location is being shut down in retaliation for their union activism. The worker committee said it is filing an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board, alleging that Starbucks is making a, quote, clear attempt to scare workers across the country, a press release from the Starbucks Workers United said. On Friday, Starbucks informed employees in its College Avenue location near Cornell University that the store will close in 1 week, according to the press release. In April, all 3 Starbucks locations in Ithaca voted to unionize, making Ithaca the company's first fully unionized city within the United States, according to the union press release. On April 16th, workers at the College Avenue store went on strike, claiming unsafe working conditions due to a waste emergency caused by an overflowing grease trap, the union said. End quote. Now, as that article states, Starbucks deciding to close this location is, widely perceived by many, not just at Starbucks Workers United, but present company very much included. This sure looks like a clear act of retaliation against Nadia and their co-workers for unionizing at that location. And Starbucks has said that they are closing that location because of the grease trap that partners struck over. But, I've been to this location. I was in Ithaca for a while. Like, it's a very popular location. Like, the idea that they would just kind of shut it down, really seems bonkers to me. So, Nadia, I know we got limited time with you. And again, I'm so appreciative of the time that we're able to chat with you. And so I was wondering if we could start before we get to this bullshit. Let's kind of step back a second. And could we talk a little more about you and how you came to work at this location? And if you could kind of tell listeners a bit more about your time working at Starbucks and your own involvement in the organizing campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a newer barista at Starbucks. I applied last summer. And around then, I had heard whisperings of what was happening in Buffalo, but I didn't really expect that it was going to have this much momentum as we're seeing now. You know what I mean? And so I saw that and I was like, wow, that would be really cool if that became huge. But, I just applied because I needed a job. So that wasn't like necessarily front and center, but I was like, that would be nice. And then like, as I started working there, I saw like the movement in Buffalo picking up steam, and it was cute actually. The first conversation I had was with a coworker who I was wearing like a shirt from a leftist organization in Ithaca, and he was like, "I like your shirt, solidarity." And then I was like, I wonder if like I bet he would want to unionize. And so like we had that conversation, and slowly we started like finding other people at our store and the other stores in Ithaca who are really interested in that. And, you know, like small conversations with a few people led to more and more. And so, yeah, at the end of January, we filed for a union election, but like we honestly probably could have done it earlier. We were just being super cautious because we were watching what happened in Buffalo and like the huge union busting that happened like instantly. All of the support managers sent. And, you know, as we've seen, like Starbucks doesn't have the resources at this point to have that same reaction at other stores that are filing for a union. So we had like 3 new managers, which is still a lot, but less than what Buffalo experienced.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is like, you know, again, why I think like what y'all are doing at your store and stores around the country has been such a, you know, an inspiration to, you know, workers and supporters all over the country and beyond. Is just like, yeah, it really feels like kind of David taking on Goliath, and Goliath is like, you know, shitting his pants right now because, you know, like, yeah, from that first victory in Buffalo, the speed at which, you know, stores all over the country have filed for union elections, and overwhelmingly the vote tally has been, you know, in favor of unionizing. Of course, we don't want to minimize, you know, the stores that have voted against unionization or the stores that have had their elections, you know, kind of complicated by challenge ballots and all that stuff, right? It's a dogfight. But right now, you know, workers have really been putting the company on its heels by racking up all of these crucial union victories. And I mean, I think just, what was it, yesterday, we just got a whole bunch more. Like I lived in Ann Arbor. Yeah, so I lived in Ann Arbor for like 7 years, and I think all the stores in Ann Arbor just unanimously voted to unionize, which kicks ass.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Ann Arbor. New Orleans just had the first store vote to unionize in Louisiana. Like, it's a really incredible thing. And every time I talk to another Starbucks worker, it kind of, it starts the way that you described it, right? You know, you turn to your left, you turn to your right, you start talking to your coworkers, and you'd be amazed at how quickly things can develop from there. It just really speaks to the power of folks talking to each other about this stuff. So I wanted to ask about that really quick, is like, when y'all started talking, like, what were some of the issues that you realized you were all thinking about but hadn't been talking about at that point? Like, what was really kind of the shared, you know, sense of what the shared issues that y'all wanted to organize around?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can tell you for a lot of us, like a lot of us are just like pro union no matter what. We want to unionize whatever workplace we're in. But for sure, like wages is a huge one. And then also like a really major one is just not feeling heard by the company at all. You know, Starbucks has all of these progressive mission and values, but increasingly over the years, like they've been abandoning that, and it's just been like performative. And you know, us baristas and shift supervisors, we really feel that, particularly during the pandemic. Like my store, College Ave, was like the epicenter of the Omicron outbreak, at least as far as it was recorded in the United States. Like we were the first massive spike because we were like right on Cornell campus, and Cornell was like the epicenter for that. You might have seen that in the news. And we had a mask mandate that was started again on a Monday, I remember. And our manager put a sign in the back of house saying that we're not actually allowed to enforce masks. We're only allowed to suggest or like offer a customer a mask. And I got talked to about the way that I was trying to get customers to get their masks on, which definitely discouraged me from doing that. And then I got COVID like 2 days later, and we actually had to close the store because too many of us got COVID. Jesus. So that's an example. Another example in terms of safety, there was an active shooter threat like right next door to us at Cornell, like very close. And I was working that day, and my shift supervisor saw a customer come in, tears streaming down their face, being like, I saw him, referring to a shooter. And then I look outside and there's like a horde of Cornell students like run walking in one direction away from where like the shooting threat was. And that's like exactly what we've been trained to look out for by Starbucks for an active shooter threat. And so my shift supervisor, first of all, my manager wasn't in store. So my shift supervisor had so much pressure put on her. And I think she did a great job. And our manager is like, loves to scapegoat her about this. But she took us all to the back of house and had everyone in the lobby leave. We were safe in the back of house. We felt really safe. And she was texting our manager, who's not currently our manager now, but our former manager. And she was like, yeah, we feel safe because we're in the back of house. And after like an hour or so, it turns out that it wasn't an active shooter threat, but an active bomb threat. And our manager made the decision for us to reopen, even though she wasn't in the store. And none of us were like involved in that decision, even though we were the ones who were facing that threat. I was like furious, and I had to go into work the next day and the threat still hadn't been resolved. And I was just like, why am I here again? Yeah, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And eventually we confronted our manager at the time, and she pinned it on the shift supervisor and made our shift supervisor feel super guilty. She was in an impossible position, I think. But yeah, we're just like not heard. It's pretty obvious that they don't care about our well-being. They don't care like how many panic attacks we have on the floor. Like as long as mobile orders are coming through and Starbucks is getting that money, it doesn't matter to Starbucks if people actually get their drinks, is what I've seen. They just like care about their profit.
Jesus, I'm so sorry that y'all went through that. Like what a dystopian fucking sentence to say, right? It's like, the bomb threat had not been resolved, but we'd been ordered to like reopen like anyway. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Same
with the Cornell students. Cornell students had to take their finals in the same building when the bomb threat wasn't resolved. Like no institution was handling it right. And I feel like that just like speaks to like where we're at, like in general, which is really scary, but like still Starbucks was not right for that.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole lot of people failing us right now. And again, it's why even though things feel rightly, so hopeless, like the one place where I am finding hope, right, is wherever I see working people like yourself and your coworkers saying like, we're going to do something about this.
Yeah.
We're done waiting for the people who like are the decision makers to fix our problems for us. Like, I think that's right. What we all need to hear and see and support and participate in right now. And, I think that it's been incredible what y'all have done at your store and across Ithaca. And, I wanted to ask if you could kind of walk us through like what it's been like since the union vote, right? Because it really, again, I guess for whatever legal purposes, we've got to like tiptoe around saying what we're all thinking. But like your store took that step to not only unionize, but also like, if I understand correctly, like, you did a walkout over this grease trap.
Right.
And now it feels and looks like Starbucks is making an example out of y'all. So I guess like for folks listening, could you kind of walk us through that timeline?
Yeah, absolutely. So What I can say is like a few weeks after we filed for our union, we got a new manager because we were kind of in between managers, and this manager was brought in from West Hollywood. There was also another support manager from West Hollywood, but she became like our acting new manager. And she is like very skilled at her job in terms of union busting. She's not, in my opinion, a very good manager, but she's very good at union busting. And she's like, I don't know, like for lack of any other way to put it, like she was terrorizing us. Like I do feel a little traumatized by the way she's treated us, like even to this point. I feel pretty confident she didn't have an involvement in the decision of the store closure itself, but she really put our store in the position where like they could try to justify a closure, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, so she did a lot of things to try to dissuade us from voting for our union, and a lot of us thought that once we voted for our union, things would get better. Maybe she would finally go away. But things started to get worse. It became pretty clear that her new strategy was to make our lives so miserable at work that we would all quit, and then there would be no union. Which, you know, it did work in terms of making our lives miserable, but she's not going to make us break our union, because also everyone that she hires supports the union. Like, it's not looking good for her. But yeah, she like rearranged the store like pretty poorly. A lot of the ways that she rearranged the store were extremely inconvenient and made our jobs harder, and also lots of other things. She's very, very strict on following like policy to the letter, and started writing people up like if they didn't do things the way that she wanted them to. She wrote my coworker, the one who liked my shirt that I mentioned earlier, she gave him a final written warning. Well, she gave him a write-up and then a final written warning all over like things like, when you closed the store yesterday, the floors were dirty or something. And like forgetting to do little tasks. But the thing is, like, we've been understaffed this whole time. Like, working at this job has been so rough. Like, understaffing is also a huge issue. Like, we just don't have like the people on the floor to do everything. So of course something's not going to be done. And so how is it fair that you put someone's job at risk for something that's like not even in our control? And for context, like a final written warning means that if he gets written up again, he'll be fired. And so he has that. My specific coworker who got a final written warning has been targeted by her like really heavily. We also have a fan that like blows cool air on us because our AC doesn't really reach us behind the bar. And she decided one day that it's not, quote, up to standard and that it's a tripping hazard. And so she unplugged it and said, we can only use it when the store is closed. And, you know, it started getting really hot recently. And so the coworker I was just talking about, and this actually prompted her to give him a final written warning. He was like, I'm sorry, it's like too hot. I'm going to leave this out. You can do whatever you want to me. She took the fan and threw it in the trash. And then she left, she went outside, took a phone call, came back, handed him that final written warning that had reasoning that like backed up like a few weeks behind too. It was just like, wow. But yeah, I think I might be like losing my train of thought a little bit.
No, I mean, it's like, again, it's hard to kind of keep up with all of this. And I think
exactly. I could talk for hours.
Yeah, that's not your fault.
Right, exactly. Like, we submitted a complaint like even before the store closure, and my affidavit took like 4.5 hours. There's so much to say.
And even just the fan thing. Like, again, I got to spend one summer in Ithaca. It was great. But yes, it gets humid as shit over there.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
So I can't even imagine what it would be like working, there without even the fan pushing the cool air back to y'all. Like, that just seems cool.
We haven't even gotten to the hottest part of the summer yet. Like, it's not good.
No.
Other
You got to walk
things
up that
too.
big ass hill to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, it's rough. Another tactic that she has is that she like has been really strict about giving people time off. So for context, my store has a lot of Cornell students that work there. Like during the school year, it's like probably a majority of us are Cornell students. And so, at spring break time, students want to go home and see their families, right? Well, that's crazy. But so yeah, in the past, like people have never had issues getting the time off to see their families or do whatever they want to do on their spring breaks. And our manager denied everybody's except for one person's. And that wasn't everyone. For context, there was the manager before her approved everybody's, but then when our new manager came in, she denied everyone's requests that were still pending except for one person, to clarify. And one person like confronted her on this, and she was like, I already bought bus tickets. And everyone like requested well ahead of time, like over 3 weeks in advance. And so yeah, my coworker was like, I already got bus tickets. I want to see my family. And our manager was basically like, well, like if you don't show up on these shifts, like we'll have to separate you, meaning like firing you. And that coworker, I was working that day. She like left that conversation in tears, and I had to comfort her. It was really, really brutal. And so I had like 5 coworkers who were in the position of like, am I supposed to stay in Ithaca to not get fired or see my family? And that was like really rough. And she did that over summer break a little bit too. Like a handful of people want to go home and like not work at Starbucks for whatever reason. And in the past, people have gotten leaves of absence, and she refused to give anyone leaves of absence. Oh my God. Also, this is crazy. I don't really talk about this that much, but I think it's worth talking about. We had one no vote at our store, and that no vote got pushed out by our manager as well. So she's like an older partner. I feel I'm really bad at guessing age. So I'm really sorry if she happens to be listening. She probably won't, but like maybe like 60 something. And she was having a hard time reaching something. And so she asked our manager, or she was asking somebody else to grab that thing for her, because when our manager rearranged everything, she put so many things out of reach. But our manager said that she had to get it herself, because that was like her position, and someone grabbing that for her would disrupt like the play that had been decided. And so my coworker was like, okay, I'm going to get a ladder then. And then my manager was like, no, you can't get a ladder. If you want to get a ladder, you'll have to go through disability to request that. And I wasn't there that day. I don't know how my coworker took that, but she was like really mad. She might have walked off. I don't know. But she was like, okay, I'm going to take a leave of absence and then come back when this manager is gone. Because even though she was against the union, this coworker, like admitted to me, she was like, yeah, this is totally union busting.
Well, and like, just because I know that you got to run in a minute, and
I can probably stay like maybe 5 minutes after 4.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. And it's just like, again, like thinking about this in context, right? These are all the little and big like ways that Starbucks is responding to this unionization effort. And we're hearing, and for folks listening, like you've been hearing the term retaliation thrown around a lot, and that means something, right? Because retaliation is like employers retaliating, taking adverse action against workers for legally protected activities, and organizing your workplace is included in that. But yet we're seeing like, Starbucks firing 7 organizers in Memphis in what looked like a very clear act of retaliation. Starbucks firing, pro-union workers at stores all over the place. Starbucks underscheduling or descheduling pro-union workers, as Nadia kind of mentioned earlier, right? All these different, or separating people in different stores even, and not putting them together on the same shift. Like, these all look and sound and appear to be, forms of retaliation, but the closing of this Ithaca store, really feels like a kind of acceleration of that. And so, Nadia, I was wondering if you could just for folks listening, if you could give people a sense of that question of retaliation. Like, do you and your coworkers how do you see the way that Starbucks has responded to this unionization campaign around the country in the terms of retaliation?
In terms of our store closure?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else that you're seeing around the country? Is it, I know that again, we have to be careful here, but should people be looking at this as retaliation, or I guess, how are you all kind of taking all of this in?
I mean, definitely it's retaliation. I don't think there's any other way to look at it. But I think on top of that, they're also their goal in this isn't to harm us at the College Ave store, but to intimidate workers everywhere who are thinking about unionizing. I think their goal is to send a message that if you unionize, these are the consequences. This is just a new escalation in their union busting campaign as a whole, not just in Ithaca. And it has consequences that are far reaching, which is why us at College Avenue, we're going to fight this as hard as we can. And we have the support financially and in other ways to do that.
Well, goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that we are with you, and we are sending all of our love and solidarity to you and your coworkers there at the College Avenue store. And in the final minute that I've got you, I just wanted to ask if you could tell listeners kind of where things stand now over there and what folks listening can do to show support for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a protest outside of our store today. That was really great. But in terms of the store closure and stuff, we're also in bargaining right now. We had our first session yesterday, which was disappointing, to say the least. They came totally unprepared. We, on Friday, had asked them many questions that we wanted answers to, a written list of why the store is closed, documentation to prove that the grease trap can't be fixed and the store has to be closed, etc. They had no answers. And we even in the meeting were do you normally come to meetings this unprepared? Also, we found out that if we don't come to an agreement by Friday, our jobs are basically in limbo and we won't be transferred. It'll be kind of, I'm assuming, we're on leave of absence. So we see that as them, someone described it as holding our wages hostage. So we just accept whatever proposal they want. And we're not going to give in that easily. But, they're still up to some questionable and bad behavior. So yeah, we're going to be in bargaining for a while. And to support us, that's a good question. I mean, at the protest today, we announced that we're calling for a boycott of Starbucks stores in Ithaca. So if you're in Ithaca, don't come to Starbucks. And if you do, get water and leave a cash tip. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what message to give to people outside of Ithaca other than just keep paying attention to what's going on, because more will emerge for sure.